Welcome to JMR Talks. Today we'll discuss about what's happening to Generation Y and Generation Z and what steps we need to be taken to retain the same. Now, as per the latest what called Microsoft report, the spirit of Great Resignation still seems to be what called alive. As per the report, 52% of Generation Y and Gen Z might change their jobs. But the icing on the cake is that 73% of them they say that if it is easy to what call change the roles within the organization, they might consider what call staying back. And most importantly, 76% of Y and Z generation they aspire to be what called own boss. Now the big question that arises here is to are the employees are taking cognizance of what call these aspirations of the people, and given the fact that more than what I call 50% of the workforce is what I call less than 25 as such. Now why it is what I call worth what I call looking at these findings as such. We all must have heard about Google, Meta. They are trying to what I call cut costs. Maybe because they are more concerned about what I call more productivity, because Sundar Pichai has given a call that employees must improve their efficiency and all that. Okay, maybe some of these organizations are trying to please the Wall Street investors, more than concerned about workers' productivity as such. But when the organizations are trying to what we call cut costs, by laying off or whatever it is, there are two dangers. Number one, the organizations might lose the what we call talented techies. Number one. Number two, the new ones, the what we call the prospective employees, might be reluctant to what we call to join the organizations, fearing that they too might be what called laid off later at a later stage. Now, when we look at 2021 work trend index, there are seven trends. That's what called worth what called looking at. Number one, flexible work is what called here to what called stay. 73% of the residents, what called they said they love what called flexible work, and 67% of them what called they want what called more in-person times with their teams as such. Now for this, work trend index, Microsoft, what I call, interviewed about 20,000 employees in more than what I call 11 countries as such. So what these, what I call the people are looking for? They are looking for flexibility, okay, and organizations need to what I call, provide the required equipment and tools they need to what I call to accomplish their tasks. Number two, leaders are out of touch with what I call employees. Thanks to the COVID, the organizations are switched over to what called remote working and all that. We all know that human beings crave for what called connectivity. So maybe leaders in general and the managers in particular, they need to what call ensure one-on-one what call discussions, maybe informal conversations, make them feel that they are connected and all that. Third is what called exhausted workforce. As per the report, 54% of them they feel what called overworked. In fact, I came to know through my friends that during the COVID, there were two what I call star performers. One star performer continued to be a star performer, whereas other was almost on the verge of burnout. Now, when the HR manager in cooperation in coordination with the what I call line manager, when they dug deep, they found that the star manager who was what I call star worker, who became a what I call average, because he lost his wife and he had to what I call look after his children. So he was not in a position to what I call balance his personal and what I call official life as such. I mean, they tried what I call reschedule and make it in such a way that he can attend to both and his productivity will improve. In the second case, the star performer who is on the verge of what I call burnout, they have redesigned the what I call schedule and because the need of the hour is what I call to sustain their productivity as such. Number four, re-energizing what I call Generation Z. When we are talking about Generation Z, I am referring to what I call those in the age group of 18 to what I call 25. For them, work-life balance is a what I call major issue. I'm not trying to say that money doesn't matter, but more than the money, they are looking for what flexibility, growth, career growth, work-life balance, etc., etc. So if the organizations can provide sense of purpose and ensure connection, they'll give their what I call best. The fifth one, shrinking networks. Innovation, we know that that is as a result of what we call the networking. But when the workplace relationships what we call get weakened, innovation becomes a what we call casualty. In fact, Dr. Nancy Bam, the senior principal researcher at Microsoft, says that when you lose connections, you stop what we call innovating. So organizations what we call need to ensure that there is what we call connectivity what we call among the employees. The sixth was authenticity. Why the leaders what we call in general and managers in particular need to be what we call authentic in their behavior, in their action, because authenticity will spur productivity and what we call well-being of the people. In fact, nowadays there's a greater demand what we call for healthy leaders and what we call healthy managers. Now, what do we mean by healthy leaders and healthy managers? They are the ones who ensure mental and what we call emotional well-being of the people. In fact, as per the report, 39% of the respondents, they say that they'll stay if there are what we call authenticity at the what we call workplace. So when the organizations, what we call, pay personal attention, it leads to what we call, inclusion, innovation, productivity, and what we call psychological safety. And the last one is what we call talent is everywhere in what we call hybrid work world. In fact, a latest, Tiny Plus, what we call report says that more than 60% of the HR managers, they feel that hybrid what we call, work, will optimize the employees' what we call performance. So organizations, instead of insisting on people what we call coming back to the what we call workplace, maybe they can go for what we call a hybrid what we call model. Now, when we look at what we call these trends of work trend index, what do they suggest? Number one, empower people for extreme flexibility, and especially what we call Generation Y and Generation Z, they prefer what we call flexible. Invest in space and technology. Now, there is a what we call divide between what we call physical and digital world. So, what is the best way what we call reduce the gap? By investing what we call space and technology. Third, combat digital exhaustion from the what we call top. Maybe it's time what we call to prioritize when we say do less, and balance synchronous and asynchronous, and encourage what we call breaks. We have seen what we call in terms of Harvard experiments, when the supervisors provided what we call breaks and arranged what we call small refreshments and all that, they have seen that the productivity what we call has gone up. Next, rebuild what we call social capital. The Harvard 75-year-old study say that people live happily and healthy because of the quality relationships. So as an organization, could we do something for team building and what we call bonding among the people with a proactive approach, abandoning the what we call reactive approach? And the last, rethink employee experience. Let's create what we call opportunities to create more diverse workforce. Gone are those days when we used to talk about customer satisfaction. From satisfaction we moved toward delight, and nowadays we are talking about customer experience. Now same is the case with what we call the employees. It's time we focus on what we call employee experience, how best we could ensure in creating that. So in conclusion, we'll say that experimental and agile approach is the what we call need of the hour. In other words, what I'm suggesting is that it's time to what we call observe, adopt, and improve. Let's not get into what we call a comfort zone, whereby we stop what we call innovating as such, and stop looking for what we call critical insights of what we call employee behavior. Next, foster cross-team collaboration. In fact, nowadays people are talking about co-creation. One may be intelligent, but he himself will not be able to what we call provide solutions required as such. So it's time to what we call create what we call a situation for co-creation, improving authentic what we call relations. So maybe it's time to what we call redesign the systems. Okay, what we call foster the hybrid workplace and all that. McKinsey research says that providing opportunity for reskilling the what we call current employees might what we call induce them to what we call stay back. And most importantly, let's invest in what we call growth of the employees. There is a saying, people may forget what you say, people may forget what you do, but people will not forget how you make them feel. So when you are investing in the growth of employees, by providing required tools, what we call techniques and all that, to work in what we call hybrid kind of environment, and when you are taking care of their mental and emotional well-being, I'm sure what we call they'll give their very well best. Retain talent. When we take steps to what we call retain the talents, it leads to what we call innovation and what we call entrepreneurship, what we call among the what we call people. So in our next video, we will look at what we call work trend index of 2022. Thank you.